All right, board fam. Why I love girl bosses and all they've given to cinema. Now, this is going to be probably very similar to her video that we watched a couple weeks ago where she pretended to love Starfleet Academy. So I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of bad faith stuff. It's going to be a lot of dumb humor. I'm guessing that's what this is going to be. Also, the fact that girl bosses and Mary Sue's and all of the other pejorative terms used towards women in movies and TV shows, they typically, these guys don't differentiate them. They just kind of all include them as, you know, the same terms. All right, let's go.
Hello everyone, Jester Bell is back, talking about
no.
something that I just love, something that has really invigorated my life. You know, I really think that media today has taken great strides towards progress and great improvements on their writing and character development.
I want to point out the fact that she can do this shows that she's capable of playing pretend. I don't know if she totally understands that this is a big tell. Like, we don't, like, how are we supposed to believe that what she's saying on the opposite side of this is true if she could so easily do this? You know what I mean? It's interesting. Which one is the real Jester Bell? The world will never know.
And I just want to zero in on one particular thing that has arisen in modern day media that I think has really, really changed my life for the better and just given me so much. Today I'm going to celebrate the girl boss. Yes, I just got back from Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. I loved the movie. I loved every second of it. I really think that Maggie Gyllenhaal speaks to me personally, and I really appreciate her.
Is she saying her last name right? I feel like she's saying it wrong. Am I hearing that wrong? All right. So this is how you pronounce her name.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
One more time.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
So is she saying it wrong on purpose? Is she saying it incorrectly on purpose?
For giving me my voice as a woman. But don't worry, we're not here just to talk about Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. We're here to talk about girl bosses in general, because once again, I really think that we have made great strides when it comes to female storytelling today. Like, for example, the upcoming Lara Croft series starring Sophie Turner. I recently saw an interview about how the famed Tomb Raider character will not, in fact, be a sex symbol as she was in the games. She will not wear a tight tank top and tight booty shorts.
Even though we see in the promo picture she does at some point. I mean, this is really bad humor. This is really bad. So the whole thing is, yeah, obviously, Sophie Turner is an attractive woman. Obviously. I don't think that I have to convince anybody otherwise, because I haven't seen anybody really making that distinction about Sophie Turner. But the whole point of what she was saying, the context of what she was saying, is that she wants her Lara Croft to be more multidimensional. Not like the multiverse of madness, but she wants her to be more than a one-dimensional character. And this is what they did with Sue in the Fantastic Four, and these folks crashed out about it on that as well. And we see now that Sue was really well done in Fantastic Four. Whether you like the movie or not, I think she was one of the better portrayed characters in the movie. So, yes, sexy is good. Like, I think everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, because I feel like that's hyperbolic. But I feel like most people are okay with seeing a sexy person in a video game or a movie or a TV show. I don't think anybody is crashing out because someone is attractive. I think that's a dumb argument to make. And that's what a lot of these folks get into. We see Lara Croft in the promo pictures, Sophie as this character, wearing a version of the game costume, the one we see right here from the original movie. So I think pretending like she's saying she's not just going to be a sex bombshell, pretending that that means there's going to be no sexiness at all, is just, I mean, it's being ignorant on purpose. You're pretending that you don't understand what they mean in order to be outrageous.
Can't stand that. Completely offensive. In fact, the creators of this show said that, in fact, now that she will not be a sexy character in this version, it's a good thing because
they didn't say she wouldn't be a sexy character. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. This is what I'm talking about. There's a lot of things you can get mad about. There's a lot of, you know, there are legitimate complaints about movies and TV shows that I'm willing to listen to. But when you are purposely misquoting and misrepresenting whatever it is that you're complaining about, you immediately send me out the door. I'm heading to the next location. I don't have time to listen to that. Like legitimately, you could complain about stuff, but this show, this Tomb Raider show, nothing so far has made me go, yeah, it's automatically going to be bad. So that's why they're making up straw men to argue at. They're making up things to complain about. It's really fucking sad.
they will be able to focus on her story. Lara Croft will not be a sex symbol. That will not be a focus of her character and her appeal anymore. So we can focus on her story.
I also want to point out being sexy and having a story aren't two separate individual things, right? It's not a mutually exclusive concept. You can have a character who is sexy and fun and exciting and also focus on the other attributes that they have, other things in their life. Like when you're dating someone that you find really fucking hot and all you want to do is hook up all day long, there are hopefully other things in that relationship that make it worthwhile, because otherwise it's just about the sex. It's just about the hotness. And the hotness. It's just about the hotness. It's just about those things, and then it all falls apart. What they're saying with this show, because it is a TV show, is it can't just be sexy. That's not all it is. This isn't adult entertainment. It is a TV show with a full-on story. The quote here that she's looking at on screen that she's pretending she doesn't see, I guess, it's about her and her story and what drives her rather than what so many people also love about her, which is how hot she is in the games and the movies. But I really want to show the other side. So she's simply saying that she, as an actress, is not an adult entertainment star, which shout out to them. Shout out to all the workers out there. It's legitimate work. But Sophie is not one of those people. She's not an OnlyFans model. She is someone who is acting in the industry that wants to have a character that means more than, oh, look at me and my boobs. Right? How is that a controversial take? This isn't the porno. I don't want to say the other word because I know YouTube will come down on me. This isn't the adult version of Tomb Raider that you only catch on late night TV in the 90s. It's an actual TV show.
And I just love hearing that so much. I am so happy that Lara Croft will not be presented as an attractive character and will instead just look as plain as possible, because...
What do you mean by not presented as an attractive character? What does that even mean? Does it mean that they're not going to dress her in a thong? Is that what you're saying? Because presented as an attractive character, Sophie Turner is not an unattractive person. She's conventionally attractive on most metrics. Like if you're actually going through and ticking off boxes of a more objective take on beauty, because I believe beauty is subjective. Goody Two Shoes here says sexy is in the eye of the beholder as well. I agree with that. I think that's true. There's conventional levels of Hollywood attractiveness that people have. Sophie Turner falls into a lot of those boxes. So they don't have to present her as attractive. What a weird fucking thing to say.
I have to tell you, whenever I see a character on screen who's super attractive and curvaceous, I cannot pay attention to anything else. I can't stop thinking about the fact that other people are enjoying how attractive this character is.
That's the whole point, though. That's the point she's making. I know you're trying to make a joke of it here, but that's the point that Sophie is making. That's literally the point she's making, right over your head.
When a female character is attractive or has any kind of appeal in that area, there is nothing else to them. There can be nothing else to a female character when they are attractive. Widow certainly didn't have much to her with her tight cat suit. There was completely nothing else to her. She just killed people with her legs. That's all she...
So are you using Black Widow as an example of someone who was just sexy? this is confusing me. So Black Widow is a character in the MCU that, on top of being attractive, and you keep showing all the scenes of her at her tightest outfits, which I know is on purpose, but she's a character that has always been more layered than that, and people were okay with that. They were fine with that. That was back when the MCU first started. As time went on, the type of character that she portrayed was looked at as a negative, because everyone started this whole, like, I have to be able to goon to something or it's awful. Leftists want to take away the ability. So this is the world they exist in. Leftists want to take away attractive people from media, but leftists are also degenerate and sex-craved individuals. That's the world that they believe the left exists in. That we simultaneously want to remove attractive people and gooner stuff from everything, but also we are the largest manufacturers of gooning material and sexy stuff. So I'm not sure, like, which one of those things is the one they actually believe. I'm not totally sure.
She did on screen. But when you remove those elements, when you put women in these unisex tactile outfits, that is when you can truly focus on their story. That is the only way it is possible, and it is the only way that audiences are going to pay attention.
This is so bad because, like, the promo picture that we got for Tomb Raider has Sophie in the Tomb Raider outfit. So you're showing pictures specifically to try and make the argument here. This is cherry picking.
To the story. If you have attractive female characters, that means men are enjoying that. And enjoying that must mean that there is nothing else to the story, because men do not enjoy storytelling. Because men cannot enjoy storytelling first. We cannot have men out there enjoying attractive female characters, because female characters being attractive and men being attracted to them is wrong. That's what it says.
Right. Oh, hold on, wait. I don't want to hear she finishes.
So in my morality book.
Okay, so the argument she's making there is that leftists believe that men liking attractive women is wrong. I want to run that back because I think that's the point she was making. Let's go back here.
Enjoying attractive female characters, because female characters being attractive and men being attracted to them is wrong. That's what it says so in my morality book.
So again, the argument she's making here is that we, the people on the left, believe that there's something wrong with men finding women attractive. That's a straw man. Because I've never said that. I don't know anyone on the left that's ever said that. Again, this is really bad comedy. It's really bad comedy. I can't think of one person in my space who has said, yeah, it's not okay for men to find women attractive at all. And she's doing this in humor, but underneath this humor is the point. Like, that's what she's doing here. She's trying to showcase a point by attempting to make it funny.
So I could not be happier once again that Lara Croft is not going to be attractive in any way. She is going to wear the plainest clothes and the plainest outfits and the plainest presentation possible for this Lara Croft show. And that...
I just want to reiterate, how does that mean that someone's not going to be attractive? You know what I mean? Like, I don't totally understand that. Okay.
Will also lead to more profit for the studios and the people making this show, because as we well know, attractive people, attractive female characters, and attractive men do not sell TV shows and movies.
That's also not something anyone on the left has said. Okay.
They do not. They are a turnoff. In fact, most people are grossed out, as I am, when they see attractive people on the screen. They don't like sexy outfits. They don't like skin-tight suits. They don't like people with bodies that are more attractive than the average person. Nope. That, in fact, does not sell movies and TV shows. That does not bring eyes to the screens. That does not attract people to come and watch these productions. No. So...
Okay, so I'm not even going to address that because that was dumb. But I will say that it is very well known anyone in the chat, and I don't think there's any disputing it, sex sells. Sex sells and outrage sells. Those two things are very hot commodities. It's a good currency to have. You can almost always sell something to the right audience if you make it something sexy. That's absolutely nothing. I mean, I wouldn't dispute that. I don't know anybody that would. I think it's pretty obvious that the vast majority of people will gravitate towards something they find attractive, which is why I've never heard this argument on the left. But I think what's important here is that we are moving into an era where people genuinely want really good storytelling. And what's happening here with Jester Bell in this video, in this joke video that she's doing, is she's shifting it around to make the argument that people on the left don't want attractive people in movies and media. And somehow that makes those things bad, because the people on the right want attractive people in media. Where is the substance in that? Do they want better writing? Is it writing? Because Jester Bell's made endless amounts of videos complaining about the writing of stuff. Cinematography, the score, and any other element of filmmaking that you can look at. I guess none of that matters because it's all about attractiveness. We're halfway into this video about girl bosses, and I don't really see the correlation to a girl boss character in a movie or TV show when you're talking about whether or not you can jerk off to these characters. Where's the overlap in that? Why is that the metric? That a character that is not conventionally sexy, is not out there just to make people hot, that character is then a girl boss? Because that was what this video started off as. Girl bosses. That was what the video was. Where is the girl boss element in this argument? I don't see it anywhere.
Now that it is gone, not only will people focus on the stories more, now that the attractive female characters are gone and they're all wearing unisex tactile outfits and whatnot, more people will in effect...
I love it. She had to hold on, get back here. She had to correct herself with tactical and tactile. I didn't even pick that up.
People focus on the stories more, now that the attractive female characters are gone and they're all wearing unisex tactile outfits and whatnot. More people...
Okay, so it sounds like we're moving into the actual substance now. We've gotten beyond the surface level visual elements. So let's see where we go into the substance of this girl boss argument where she's pretending to be a leftist.
People will in effect buy our shows and movies. I think that especially, and once again, we just saw this with my favorite movie, The Bride. We saw that girl boss characters and feminist preaching really speaks to people and really brings people to the cinema, which is why, of course, WB gave Maggie Gyllenhaal $90 million to make her feminist manifesto, and it really worked out for audiences. I think that is what everyone wants to watch after a hard day's work. They want to sit down in front of their TV and watch rich Hollywood actresses preach at them.
Well, it's a movie, first of all, so you're not sitting down and watching it in front of your TV unless you're watching it illegally, which I wouldn't be surprised because you've made the slip now. Nerdrotic has made this slip. Critical Drinkers made this slip. You guys say TV when you're talking about movies that are in theaters right this second, which means you probably didn't go out and watch it based on that slip up. Secondly, the barrier of entry for failure when it comes to movies and women and any other diverse group, it's crazy to me that those things are looked at with extreme scrutiny, but when white men do it, they keep getting opportunities. There are more failed movies. There's more financial flops that straight white men have made than any other group in the existence of Hollywood. So just because a woman or a diverse person makes a film that doesn't necessarily do well at the box office, which I haven't seen this movie, so I can't really talk about the quality of the movie. But you look at that and you look at the existence of Hollywood, how long Hollywood has been around. There are far more failures under the belts of straight white men than there are any other group. And that is because they've been given far more opportunities than anybody else. And therein lies the problem. Because you have less people out of these diverse, marginalized communities making media, everything they make has to be a success immediately, or it's literally like they shouldn't make movies and TV shows because look at this flop. They're not allowed the opportunity to make 5, 10, 15 things over a short amount of time where we can see whether or not they do gravitate towards it. We can't, because we're only getting one every 4 or 5 months. And then the rest of the time we're getting completely bombarded with things that speak specifically to straight white men. Anyway.
I know it's what I like to do, but I want to explore a little bit further all that girl bosses have done for cinema. Once again, it used to be a terrible, sexist, misogynistic landscape where female characters would actually look attractive on screen. They would have suits that accentuated their femininity, and that is just so gross. Femininity in and of itself is gross. I believe that the way for female characters to be validated is for them to look what is more considered traditionally masculine.
Okay, so here we are. This is again, it's another straw man. She's saying that people on the left believe that femininity is gross, when people on the left are much more likely to be feminist than people on the right. So make it make sense. What women choose to do with their own lives, how they choose to portray themselves in the world, and whatever they want to do. Very supportive of that. I think we should all be supportive of everybody, regardless of gender or sexuality or whatever, being who they are, being their true selves, their honest selves. I think it's a little bit weird to argue that people on the left universally don't want women to be feminine. I just can't even take that seriously as an argument. Everything that comes with femininity, I don't totally understand, like, who's even making that argument on the left. Are there people, look, I'll put it this way, because a lot of people say, oh, you live in your echo chamber. So let me even expand that a little bit more. There are people who create, like women or gay people or whatever, from their communities that want to differentiate themselves from whatever the standard is. Because that standard doesn't always speak to their sensibilities or the communities they come from. So when you come into a space and you have an opportunity, you get one shot to do something, because you're not going to get the same chances that everybody gets in Hollywood. You get that one shot and you're going to take it and you're going to try something that you wanted to try for a long time because you want to really give it your all. And it ends up either working or not working. And I think it's okay to go, this didn't work, but that doesn't mean that it's never going to work, or something like this couldn't work in a different way. That's how you learn from mistakes. That's how you learn from making mistakes in your life. You build and you grow from that. If you are someone that never makes mistakes, then you're not paying attention because everybody does. If you're somebody that doesn't want to admit to your mistakes, that doesn't want to own up to your mistakes, that's a problem. I think mistakes are good. They help you grow as a person.
Again, on all these masculine outfits. What I love about Rey from Star Wars is that she is wearing robes that are identical to Luke's desert robes that he wore in A New Hope. She's literally just wearing Luke Skywalker clothes throughout the entire series. They look exactly the same, and they're unisex, and they really hide her femininity completely. I believe all female characters should hide their femininity. That's why I loved the new Black Widow, which is so much better and has so much more story than the old one. I love it that they got rid of the cat suit and just have her in a plain old tactile outfit again. That is my...
So she says tactile. That's like the third or fourth time she said it. It's funny.
Absolute favorite. Now that the evil pieces of meat characters of the past are gone and that we have the girl boss, let's go through a checkbox of more that girl bosses have all given us.
Okay, so this is a girl boss checkbox. She's going to give us the checkboxes for, I guess, girl bosses.
The power of girl bosses. Girl bosses are so powerful that they made it so that no one would ever want to watch Star Wars again. They were systematic in tearing down that franchise the more they pushed these characters and making sure that no misogynistic men would ever want to watch them again. All
right, based on what? Based on what? I do realize that just like with any major franchise that exists, you're going to have people arguing about what they like and they don't like about those movies. I'm not here to debate any specific individual Star Wars film. Okay? I'm not going to do that. But I will say that the last 5 Star Wars movies that came out, the 3 sequels, Solo and Rogue One, made Lucas and Disney 4.4, almost 4.5 billion dollars. So you can't look at that financially and go, the studios learned their lesson from those movies. They put out 5 movies and made $4.5 billion on it. You can argue about stories and characters or whatever. That's fine. Studio looks at dollars. They look at dollar amounts. Financially, those run of films made the studio money. We could talk about merch and all that stuff later on. We probably won't even talk about it later on. We'll talk about it another time. So those made money for the studio. The stuff on streaming, the TV shows that we have different values that determine whether or not they're successful. A lot of that we don't even know is from the public. All we know is the information that we're given. A lot of that stuff isn't necessarily available. Like if you were going to look up specific numbers about TV shows, you might find Nielsen ratings. You might find some article where they talked about watch time or something like that. We don't have the financial specifics of that. So when people talk about Star Wars is dead or XYZ, it doesn't make sense because unless you are somebody actually on the inside, you don't know those details. It's just impossible to know.
Bosses tore down the Marvel Studios franchise. The more girl bosses they provided also wound up turning off the misogynistic males so that they would no longer enjoy Marvel.
Let me run back. I think I missed that one. She had something about Marvel girl bosses, so let's go.
Bosses tore down the Marvel Studios franchise the more they pushed these characters and making sure that no misogynistic men would ever want to watch them again. Girl bosses tore down the Marvel Studios franchise. The more girl bosses they provided also wound up turning off the misogynistic males so that they would no longer enjoy Marvel, so that we could have these franchises for ourselves.
Okay, so that's the Marvel argument. I've done extensive research on Marvel, especially the last 2 or 3 phases of Marvel and the women in those films. We don't have a lot of women-led Marvel movies. We just don't. There's like 3 out of like 40. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of women-led Marvel movies. You get Captain Marvel. You could count Wakanda Forever, even though it's ensemble. The Marvels, even though that is also ensemble, it is primarily women. The Black Widow movie. And then you get some mix-ups with like Eternals and Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that where women are part of the main cast, but not necessarily the main character. There's just not enough of women-led movies in Marvel to say that the women ruined the Marvel brand. That the numbers just don't exist. It's just not there. And again, TV shows, it's hard to quantify what effect that has since those numbers are not public to us. We have no idea. You can go look. If you don't believe me, go look and try to find some sort of like solid, quantifiable number from all of the TV shows consistently to try and find out if they're doing well or not well, depending on whatever the metric is, whatever the standard is that you're trying to apply. It's impossible to do that. I've tried to do it. It's impossible. All we know is what we're told from studios and insiders in random articles. We just don't know. Nielsen ratings are inaccurate. They only count view and watch time from TVs, streaming televisions. They don't count tablets or phones or laptops or other services where you can watch things through like Amazon. They don't count that. You have to be watching it on that app on your television. That's it. So if you can't look at those and go, well, this is why it's failing. And I know that she's pretending to be a leftist. I know that's what she's doing here, but you have to unpack what the information that she's actually trying to convey. That's what I'm doing here. I'm unpacking the information she's conveying to us. So she is saying facetiously that women ruined Star Wars and women ruined Marvel. That's what she's saying. So you have to translate because this skit is bad.
Bosses might have done more damage to these franchises than even oversaturation. Just think of the power there. Girl bosses have allowed women and little girls everywhere to feel empowered. Now that they preach to them that femininity needs to be hidden and that they need to act more like men. Girls everywhere are looking up to these characters and watching them frequently and buying their figures and merchandise and whatnot and feeling inspired and feeling like they too can be like men. They too can wear masculine looking clothes. They too can go out there and act super
masculine looking clothes. This one always, I never really get a chance to talk about this because when people talk about sex and gender, because if you notice, she's using the term female over and over and over again instead of women. Women and female, those two terms are not the same. And here we are in 2026, we have a woman here arguing that women in general should not wear anything that looks masculine. That's the underlying narrative that she's trying to paint here. And yeah, Mark, it's a deleted scene. Yes, this is a deleted scene. She's using a deleted scene in her argument. Yeah. It's a deleted scene for a reason. It didn't play well. Bob says she's playing the dumb conservative idea of what leftists and feminists are. Yeah, that's exactly it. But I do think so. This is why I think channels like Jester Bell work so well. She knows that she's speaking to dumb people. She realizes that she's speaking to really dumb people, and those really dumb people don't need you to give a lot of context. They just want to have their biases confirmed. And so she comes in, swoops in with that confirmation bias button that they want to push whenever they click on one of her videos. That's what I think is happening.
And toxic and try to get their way. I appreciate that women everywhere are watching and enjoying these movies. Another thing that girl bosses have done is they've made it so that no one takes the concept of a female action hero seriously anymore. Now, whenever a female action hero comes on screen, it tends to actually bomb at the box office, even if it gets good reviews from critics, because people automatically assume if it's a female action hero, it is going to have the same tropes of these modern day Mary Sue.
Okay, so again, Mary Sue Girlboss, not the same thing. Not the same thing. I talked about this in another video. But I want to point out what she's saying here. Again, you have to decipher the bad comedy. Is that women, like the girl boss women in media that she's pretending that leftists love, and she's making all these straw man arguments, that has contributed to the downfall of women in movies in general, with no evidence whatsoever. If you're going to make an argument for me and you're going to go, Eric, I believe that gay people are detrimental to modern TV shows, then you would have to give me some sort of evidence for that. You can't just say, oh, well, a gay person in a show is pushing some sort of agenda or whatever. That's not even the same argument. It just doesn't even make sense, but that's where they would go with it. You have to give me some sort of evidence, some sort of study, something to show that you have done a little bit of homework or you're referring to someone that has done a little bit of homework. Just saying stuff doesn't make it true. You have to be able to fact check things like this. And she doesn't do that. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, historically has said that once he stopped providing facts for his audience, he saw an uptick of engagement because the people that watch this content, the people that like this kind of stuff, don't want facts. They don't want information. They don't want to be told that whatever their worldview is, it's incorrect. They don't want to hear that. So it's easier for these guys to just feed into the outrage, feed into the culture war, and stoke the flames because it's more beneficial to them to do that than anybody else. They solely benefit from this.
Girl bosses. In fact, well, female action heroes were definitely getting more popular with Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor and whatnot.
That wasn't so. They love to go back to Ripley and Sarah, right? They love to go back to those characters. The truth is, the rise of women in movies that we have right now comes from things like The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was massively successful, and therefore Hollywood saw a lot of money in female-led action films in the 2010s. And so they greenlit a bunch of stuff because that's what Hollywood does. Hollywood looks at money and they move based on money. They don't move based on vibes. They don't move based on anything else. They move based on money. I've never argued the opposite of that. When they've talked about Hollywood virtue signaling and having some sort of message or agenda, they don't. Their agenda is to make money. That's what they want to do. They saw something like the Hunger Games and they said, oh, this and things like Twilight and all of these things make it seem like this is what people want to see. So they greenlit a bunch of women-led projects in the mid-2010s. That's how we got here. And they want to ignore that and keep going back to like 40 years ago and going, look, these characters from 40 years ago were really popular, and skipping over the 2000s and the 2010s.
Now there's automatically an assumption that if it's in a movie that has a female action hero, then it's probably going to be bad. So even if it's not necessarily preachy, people don't go see it anymore. In fact, it's caused a big turnoff to all female action heroes.
Causation, correlation, fallacy. It's your claim. You would need to provide evidence of that in order for it to mean anything at all. And you're never going to do that because the evidence doesn't exist.
Everywhere, and no one really wants to watch. And The Bride, my favorite movie of all time, is causing mass walkouts and horrible reviews.
So let me tell you guys where the fallacy is here. So her statement here, again, let's unpack the narrative, is that people are walking out of The Bride because a woman is the director and a woman is the lead character. That's the entire argument. It's not her favorite. Plus, she's being facetious. The entire argument is that women-led things are causing people to walk out of movies. That's the whole video in a nutshell.
Karen, what's wrong here? That's not what it says in my morality book. Girl bosses are popular. Everyone loves girl bosses. Cinema is saved. I don't understand. The audiences for Star Wars and Marvel were replaced with all women. What's going on here?
They weren't replaced with all women. This is so dumb. This is so sad. This is so cringe. This is so fucking cringe.
Anyway, I'm hoping that we will see even more girl bosses in the future as I sit in the theater with all women who've now decided that they love Marvel movies and Star Wars and these traditional boys franchises all along. Now all the audience has been replaced by women who love being inspired by these girl bosses who have now taken masculinity for themselves. Girl bosses inspire me, they inspire you, they will inspire you, and they will teach men a lesson. I appreciate every one of you for watching this video. I am almost to 100,000 subscribers.
We don't care. Holy shit. What a bad video. It was hurting my brain. I have to give a shout out to Bob of the old ways in the chat. It was hurting my brain trying to unravel all the stuff she was saying in this video. It literally hurt my brain. That was one of the worst bits I've ever watched on YouTube. And I've watched a lot of them. That was fucking awful.